I've seen it happen a lot. Someone grabs a super cheap 2-bay NAS off some discount site, plugs it in, and a week later they're staring at a disk error screen while their family photos, home videos, and a growing media library sit inaccessible. The regret is real, and the excuse is usually, "I thought any NAS would do." So the big question is whether the Synology DiskStation DS220 Plus actually feels like a smarter buy, or if it's just another piece of hardware you'll wish you'd upgraded sooner. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you're standing in the aisle, the DS220 Plus looks like a modest square box, nothing flashy, but that's intentional. It's built for people who need a reliable home server without the jargon. The first hesitation for most buyers is the "no drives, no memory" tagline. You have to buy the hard drives and any extra RAM separately, and you'll be installing them yourself. That can be intimidating if you've never opened a computer case, but the process is pretty straightforward. You slide the trays out, snap in the SATA drives, and lock everything back in. The manuals are clear, and the DSM, DiskStation Manager, interface walks you through the initial setup step by step. If you've ever swapped a laptop SSD, you'll feel right at home. What really matters after that first boot is how the box behaves when you start using it for everyday tasks. I've set up a DS220 Plus in a typical family environment, two 4TB WD RAID drives in a RAID 1 configuration for redundancy, the stock 6GB of DDR4 memory, and the default Celeron J4025 CPU. The goal was simple: a centralized location for backups, a media server for Plex, and a personal cloud for documents. The first thing I noticed was how quickly DSM recognized the drives and built the RAID. The initial sync took a couple of hours, but once it was done, the system sat quietly, using barely any power. That low idle consumption is a win for anyone worrying about electricity bills or wanting a device that can stay on 24/7 without heating the room. From a media streaming standpoint, the DS220 Plus handles 1080p Plex streams without a hiccup. I tested it on a couple of TVs, a phone, and a laptop, all pulling the same show at once. The Celeron processor, while modest, has enough headroom for a few concurrent streams, especially since the 2 gigabit Ethernet ports can be teamed for a slight bandwidth boost if you ever need it. If you were hoping to run 4K transcoding on 3 devices simultaneously, this isn't the machine for that. You'll start seeing buffering and the CPU clock hitting its 2.9 GHz burst limit. For a single user, 1080p home theater experience, it's more than adequate. Backup reliability is where the DS220 Plus shines. I set up Synology's Hyper Backup to pull data from 2 Windows laptops and an Android phone. The scheduled jobs ran overnight, and the incremental backups added only a few megabytes each night, keeping the network load low. Because the RAID 1 array mirrors everything, a failed drive triggers an alert in the DSM dashboard, and you can replace the disk without shutting down the system. The whole process feels reassuringly automated. You don't have to remember to copy files manually. Now let's talk about the downsides, the hidden trade-offs that often get glossed over in marketing copy. First, the lack of built-in drives means you'll need to budget extra dollars for the disks you actually want to store. For a starter setup, you're looking at roughly $150 to $200 for 2 reliable 4TB drives, on top of the $300-ish price tag for the chassis. That's not a deal-breaker if you're planning a serious home media collection, but it can be a surprise for someone who thought the 20 terabytes spec meant everything was included. Second, the DS220 Plus only supports up to 6 GB of RAM, and while that's enough for most home uses, power users who want to run multiple Docker containers, surveillance station with dozens of cameras, and heavy web services might feel cramped. Adding a third or fourth drive also isn't an option. You're stuck at 2 bays unless you invest in a larger Synology model, which quickly escalates the price. Who should buy the DS220 Plus? If you are a homeowner who wants a single point of truth for photos, movies, and documents, and you're comfortable with a little DIY installation, this is a solid middle ground. It's ideal for families who need automated backups, gamers who want to store and stream game replays, and hobbyists who want to experiment with Synology's app ecosystem, things like Download Station, Photo Station, or a modest personal cloud. The ease of expanding storage later, just swap in larger drives, also makes it future-proof for a few years. Who should skip it? If you're looking for an all-in-one solution that comes preloaded with drives and you don't want to touch any hardware, you'll probably be better off with a pre-built external RAID enclosure that plugs straight into your PC. Likewise, anyone who needs serious multitasking power, say a small office running